Hey, you ever wanted to be a delivery driver? Like one for Amazon or FedEx? Probably not. But if you wanted to be a delivery driver that's all hush-hush and delivers things semi-legally, then Cloudpunk is the game for you. A game that came out April 23rd, 2020. It's been on my radar for a while, and only now have I had the chance to play it as it sat there in my Steam library with all the other games I promised to play one day. It's not a secret I enjoy the cyberpunk genre. I really enjoy looking at neon lights while ignoring the capitalist hellhole we're thrown in. So finding out about this was interesting. Normally a game in this genre would have some action to it, like Cyberpunk 2077, Shadowrun, or Ghostrunner. But this game doesn't have any combat. Your job is to drive around and deliver packages, no questions asked. Now this interests me. I'll always be keen to check out games in a genre that sort of go out of the general conventions of said genre. And with Ion Lands announcing an upcoming life simulator game in the same setting, I figured I might as well see how they've done with Cloudpunk. So let's jump into it. Welcome to Nivalis. Is the sequel game, but Nivalis is the name of the city we're in, a bustling metropolis that, as far as I know, seems to reign continuously. We start off the game in our floating car called a Hova, and we talk with a character named Control who introduces us to our new job with Cloudpunk, the semi-legal delivery team. We play as Rania, a person who has left a region known as the Eastern Peninsula and made her way to Nivalis to escape the debt cores, who I can only assume are debt collectors. Rania is also joined by an automata named Camus, who is the goodest boy and can do no wrong, who talks to Rania through her comm which is installed in her Hova. Immediately at the start of the game, we get taught the controls to fly our Hova, and it feels rather floaty, which makes sense. We have no ground traction, so floating about would feel floaty. It does take a while to get used to the controls. However, for me, even though I've been playing this game for about 5 hours now, I still can't get the hang of it exactly. You can move the mouse to control the camera, or you can use the mouse to turn left or right, depending on whether you unlock the camera or not. I prefer using the mouse to turn left or right. However, if you unlock the camera, you can use your A and D keys to turn left or right, but I didn't feel that to be very exact. What can I say, I'm used to driving on the ground instead of in the air. If you really want to get immersed, you can instead go into first-person mode and ride around in the cockpit. I don't prefer this because, while it looks cool, I find it a bit difficult as I can only look ahead and not get a clear look above or below me unless I'm going to park and a monitor shows up to show what's beneath me. While driving about, you also have to worry about refueling your Hova, so you have to make stops at these gas stations to refuel, and you can also make stops in mechanics to get various upgrades for your Hova, such as a speed booster, or even changing the color of your trails from a blue to a red, which doesn't make you go faster, but you can believe it'll make you go faster. The first task you get as a Cloudpunk driver is to deliver a package to someone in the Marrow, the lowest part of Nivalis where you're able to survive on as few resources as possible. Essentially the slums of the city. We learn quickly that it's easier for us to not ask questions and to deliver the package, also due to the fact that we won't really get any answers. But will that really stop us? That's for us to find out. While flying about, we learn that each district has its own maximum and minimum flying levels, a clever way to explain why we can't just fly as we please to great heights, with the in-game reason being so people don't just storm the Spire. The Spire being where all the rich and corporate people stay, and this clear divide between the rich and the poor, where one group is above the clouds and the other are below, already sounds cyberpunk as all hell. Traveling on foot, we're also able to lock the camera in place, or you can run around in third person or in first person. And as we wander the city, we also get to speak with various NPCs who each have their own story. And as we begin to travel and talk to other characters, we begin to learn exactly just how dismal the city is. So a cyberpunk setting isn't really meant to be fun or desirable. Along with the stark class divides between the rich and the poor, there are many other aspects that showcase the terrible living within a city in this genre. Sure, you can enjoy the aesthetics of the genre and not get into the societal criticisms it provides, but these two things can go hand in hand. Within Nivalis, you have your neon lights, your flying cars, and you have your towering buildings, but this goes much further and deeper than what we initially see. We learn that there are issues regarding rogue AI as well as discrimination of androids. The issues of rogue AI sounds terrifying enough given the uncertainty of what they can do, especially in a city as technologically dependent as Nivalis, while the discrimination of androids mirrors that of real-world racism, with one quest in particular showcasing this. And of course, it had to be done by a rich woman who looks down upon people poorer than her.
Dear, you must be very curious, are you not? How a woman like me and an android like Mr. Octavius Butler met. You see, Mr. Octavius Butler, look at this fabulous place. Different and together, but separate. That's how we exist together in the city without all the systems breaking down.
That's what they used to say about androids, you know.
Oh, don't hearken back to your revolutionary days again. You have rights now, just like humans.
Some of the dialogue you find don't lead to quests rather than lore points, such as with an engineer who at first warns you to look out for any signs that glow or flash certain colors. The next time you meet him, you'll learn that he attempted to help an area by simply diverting traffic, and the district then fell into the ocean. Was this his fault? Probably not, but he sees it as his fault. You then hear of his lament to quit his job as he cannot bear the weight of another disaster to fall upon his shoulders. Some dialogue don't even lead to much else as we run into this dude bro podcaster who doesn't seem to add to the story so much as poke fun at this type of person. These characters add much more story to Nivalis, and while I can get enough from the main story, these people just add a bit more to help flesh out the place.
Oh, we have here another stuck-up young woman, too busy shopping and using makeup. I call it fake-up because it is really lies to trick men. She doesn't even have time to talk to my listeners, the Bro Brothers.
Your listeners are called the Bro Brothers?
That's right, the Bro Brothers are my pack. Am I right? Hoo, hoo.
Why do you get such a bad reputation?
We do a lot of things we ain't supposed to.
Robbing people?
Nah, much worse. Urban renewal, bitch! Oh yeah!
Wait, what? Urban renewal?
Yeah, community project. Planting gardens on corporate waste ground. Turning old factories into playgrounds. Real hardcore shit.
I mean, no, I don't get it at all.
There ain't nothing in Nivalis that will get you in more trouble than fucking with corporate property.
Honestly, the writing for the NPCs in Nivalis are really well done. They're really well written, and I enjoy talking to every single one of them. The design of Nivalis visually is really appealing and adds to a haunting and depressing atmosphere. The first thing I want to mention is I really like the blocky art style they've gone for. I don't see much of this as many games like to go down a cel-shaded or realistic design, so Cloudpunk style gets a big plus from me. Art style aside though, Nivalis is set up in a way to only be depressing. The whole game takes place on the same day you join Cloudpunk. The weather is always raining here apart from a few places, the Spire, and a few areas underground. In fact, everywhere we go and look up, we can see clouds. No glimpse of the sky, only to make you wonder if there ever would have been a time you could actually see the sun. Climbing up to the Spire, you don't get the same atmosphere as the rest of the city. It feels so disconnected and worry-free. You can even see the stars above, and when you're done, you return back down and wonder what it would be like to always stay up there, which others would experience in the world where they give up their belongings to go up to the Spire on a staircase to nowhere, only to later plummet to their death. The whole thing sounds like shit. The thought that this goes on and that people are fine with it just makes me feel uncomfortable, though the discomfort doesn't just stop at the dialogue. One thing I failed to record fully but noticed a few times in the game are the sounds of buildings collapsing. And not collapsing due to some demolition work, no. Instead, they just fall into the ocean. Apartment blocks just collapse and fall right there into the water, and all I can really do is watch and hope I don't have to deal with any of that. Color also plays an important role in the atmosphere of the game. And while I'm not an artist to really comment much on color theory or why they used a shade of red over a shade of purple, I've seen enough horror games to know that red is a scary color, and when the building's lights glow red and that's the main tone you see, I begin to feel a bit worried. I begin to feel nervous and that I would probably just want to leave this city.
He's a creepypasta.
It's very deliberate to not only give us the aesthetic of a cyberpunk city, but also to set the mood and tone. The whole place fills me with a feeling of unease and dread, and I can't really begin to shake that feeling. It also doesn't help as well that the music, while beautiful, also sets the tone of despair. And this is perfect because again, it's not meant to be a desirable outcome. Now this is the part of the video where I make a comparison to a game I've talked about before. Take Night City in Cyberpunk 2077 and ask yourself if you really ever felt like you wanted to leave Night City. Like, you wanted to get out of there and go somewhere else. I haven't felt that way at all. My mindset of Night City is, yeah, this city sucks, but I don't mind it here. It might be because it's more of an action game than Cloudpunk, or it might be because it fits the aesthetic and you can simply ignore the downsides of the game, because at least there we got sunlight. But at no point have I ever felt like I wanted out. Sure, maybe if I was actually living there with threats from people who want to harvest my cyberware, or from street gangs who just stroll up and decide to beat me up, but at no point have I ever really felt uncomfortable. Nivalis just hits different. It's a dystopia you'd expect in this setting, and when I'm in the city, the only thing I can think about is wanting to leave and not look back. Which honestly is perfect for the upcoming life simulator that takes place in Nivalis. Also, the currency in Nivalis are called limbs, and I know it sounds very similar to limbs, and it's probably because it costs an arm and a leg to live here. Really though, this is my favorite cyberpunk city. It just hits the themes, the tropes, and it looks good, and you feel awful just spending your time here and you really just want to book it. Overall, I'm enjoying my time playing Cloudpunk. The world is interesting and exciting, and the method of exploration is a lot more fun than I initially expected. I've played other games where you drive around, going from point A to point B, you pick something up, you drop something off, and it's well done here, especially with a character who has no part of a low-life criminal background or any combat capabilities. It's such an interesting take and delivery of a cyberpunk story. There's even DLC called City of Ghosts, and I'll most likely check it out when I'm done because I will be replaying this game once over. There are times where you get options on how to complete a task, and I want to find out if it does affect any story or outcome. I'm also eagerly awaiting the release of Nivalis because while I do like the cyberpunk genre, I'm also a fan of life sim games, and this feels like the best of both worlds, so how could it go wrong? I really do like that it's a different video game genre than what we're used to for this kind of setting, and hope we get to see more video game genres in a setting like this, such as, I don't know, Crusader King style game, but it's cyberpunk or something?